The first Stoic principle that ensures nothing can affect you is the recognition that you cannot control external events, only your reactions to them. Life will always bring challenges, disappointments, and outcomes that do not go as planned. A Stoic understands that control lies not in the external world, but in one's internal state of mind. When you deeply understand this principle, you stop wasting energy trying to change what is beyond you and focus instead on mastering your perception. This creates an unshakable calm because your peace no longer depends on the behavior of others, the opinions of society, or the outcomes of fate. You train yourself to remain centered, no matter how chaotic the environment becomes. Every negative event becomes an opportunity to test and strengthen your discipline. Over time, this mindset builds emotional armor so thick that no insult, loss, or failure can penetrate it. The second Stoic principle that helps you become unshakable is the practice of distinguishing between what is good, what is bad, and what is indifferent. Stoicism teaches that only virtue, wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control is truly good, and only vice is truly bad. Everything else, such as wealth, health, reputation, or pain, is indifferent. When you internalize this, external success and failure lose their power over you. Whether you gain or lose something material no longer determines your emotional state. You begin to act from reason, not impulse. You stop being attached to fleeting pleasures or afraid of discomfort, because you recognize they do not define your worth. You become free, guided by principle rather than emotion. This perspective turns suffering into neutrality and victory into humility, keeping your inner balance stable under all conditions. The third Stoic principle is to accept fate, or in Latin, amor fati, love of fate. This is not passive resignation, but an active embrace of everything that happens, viewing it as necessary for your growth. A Stoic sees every circumstance as the perfect opportunity for virtue. If something difficult occurs, you see it as training for patience. If something pleasant happens, you practice gratitude without attachment. When you accept fate fully, fear disappears because you no longer fight against life's flow. You stop labeling experiences as good or bad and instead ask, how can I use this? This acceptance gives you serenity in loss and humility in success. By aligning yourself with the natural course of life, you become untouchable, because nothing can happen to you that you have not already embraced as part of the greater design. Another crucial Stoic principle is self-discipline. The Stoics believed that mastering oneself is the foundation of all freedom. Without control over your desires, emotions, and impulses, you become a slave to them. Discipline means training your mind and body to obey reason rather than craving or fear. It is choosing what is right over what is easy. When you develop this level of control, external influences lose power. Insults cannot provoke you, temptations cannot sway you, and challenges cannot break you. You remain steady because your emotions no longer control your actions. Self-discipline builds strength quietly through small daily acts. Waking early, focusing on your tasks, speaking with restraint, and thinking before reacting. Over time, this discipline forms an unbreakable will that no external event can corrupt. The fifth Stoic principle is mindfulness of the present moment. The Stoics warned against living in regret of the past or fear of the future. They taught that the only moment you truly possess is now. By concentrating on the present, you remove unnecessary suffering caused by imagined scenarios. When you are fully present, you respond to life as it is, not as your mind projects it to be. This clarity allows calm and strength to replace anxiety and confusion. Every task, no matter how small, meaningful when done with full attention. You stop chasing distractions and begin to find peace in simplicity. Living in the present aligns your actions with your values, and that alignment makes you untouchable by the chaos of time. The sixth Stoic principle is the understanding that perception shapes reality. The way you interpret an event determines how you feel about it. Two people can experience the same hardship, yet one suffers deeply while the other finds peace. The difference lies in perception. A Stoic trains the mind to see events objectively, stripping away emotional exaggeration. Instead of saying, "This is terrible," you say, "This is an event that has occurred." You then decide rationally how to respond. This habit separates you from the automatic reactions of the crowd. When you master your perception, you master your emotions. And when you master your emotions, you master your life. Nothing external can disturb a mind that sees clearly and responds with reason rather than panic. The seventh Stoic principle is to prepare your mind for adversity. The Stoics practiced negative visualization, a mental exercise where you imagine loss, hardship, or failure before it happens. This is not pessimism, it is preparation. By picturing possible difficulties in advance, you train yourself to remain calm if they occur. You learn to appreciate what you have and detach from the illusion of permanence. When adversity strikes, you are not shocked because you have already faced it in thought. This practice builds emotional immunity. You become grateful for the present, humble in success, and steady in loss. Nothing surprises or weakens you because your mind has rehearsed every outcome. The Stoic is never unprepared for what life may bring. The eighth Stoic principle is to live according to nature. This means living in harmony with reason, virtue, and the natural order of life. Everything in nature follows its purpose. The sun shines, rivers flow, and seasons change. Humans, too, have a nature to act with wisdom and integrity. When you resist your nature by chasing pleasure or avoiding discomfort, you suffer. But when you align with it, you find peace. Living according to nature means accepting change, understanding limits, and acting with justice toward others. It frees you from the conflict between what is and what you wish it to be. By respecting the flow of life and your role within it, you rise above frustration and achieve calm independence. The ninth Stoic principle is the understanding that life is temporary. The Stoics constantly reflected on mortality, not to despair, but to live more fully. When you remember that every moment could be your last, you stop wasting time on trivialities. Anger fades because arguments seem meaningless in the face of death. Greed vanishes because possessions cannot follow you. Fear weakens because the worst outcome, death, is natural and inevitable. This awareness sharpens your focus and deepens your gratitude. You begin to live intentionally, valuing relationships, virtues, and peace of mind above all else. When you accept mortality, You stop clinging to what you cannot keep. You become free, fearless, and untouchable. The 10th Stoic principle is to practice gratitude and humility. The Stoics taught that happiness is not found in acquiring more, but in appreciating what you already have. Gratitude transforms your perspective by showing you that you already possess enough to be content. Humility reminds you that you are part of something greater than yourself, and that fortune can change at any moment. Together, these attitudes prevent arrogance in success and despair in loss. When you live in gratitude, even hardship becomes a gift that strengthens you. You stop demanding life to be perfect and start accepting it as it is. Gratitude turns ordinary moments into peace, and humility keeps you grounded in truth. This combination makes you unmovable by praise or criticism. Another powerful Stoic concept is emotional detachment. This does not mean coldness or lack of compassion, but the ability to maintain peace, regardless of emotional storms. Detachment allows you to observe feelings without becoming controlled by them. You can feel anger, sadness, or joy, but you remain aware that emotions are temporary waves, not your identity. When you detach, you act with reason instead of reaction. You no longer depend on validation or fear rejection. Emotional detachment brings clarity and inner strength, making you resilient against manipulation, disappointment, and chaos. It is the art of caring deeply without losing yourself in the process. The 12th Stoic principle is virtue over comfort. The Stoics believed that a good life is not one of ease, but one of integrity. Every decision you make should reflect your values, even when it is uncomfortable. When you choose honesty over deceit, courage over fear, discipline over indulgence, you strengthen your soul. Comfort fades, but virtue endures. A Stoic does not seek luxury, but excellence of character. The more you live by virtue, the less external circumstances matter. You stop chasing temporary pleasures because you have found permanent meaning. This moral clarity shields you from corruption, regret, and inner conflict, making you unbreakable in spirit. The 13th principle is to embrace silence and solitude. The Stoics valued quiet reflection because it allowed them to examine their thoughts and actions. In solitude, you meet yourself honestly. You realize how much of your anxiety comes from noise, comparison, and distraction. Silence gives space to your reason, helping you think clearly and act wisely. When you can be alone without discomfort, you gain power over loneliness. You no longer seek constant validation because you have built peace within. Solitude becomes your teacher, showing you that strength comes from inner stability, not external stimulation. A calm mind, nurtured in silence, cannot be easily disturbed. The 14th Stoic principle is service to others. Stoicism teaches that we are all part of one human community. True strength includes compassion. When you act with kindness and justice, you align with universal reason. Helping others without expecting reward builds humility and purpose. It also protects you from selfish desires that cause inner conflict. Service reminds you that your problems are not the center of the universe. It expands your perspective and deepens your gratitude. When your actions serve the greater good, external judgment loses meaning. You find peace in contribution, not in competition. This selfless mindset cannot be shaken by personal loss or failure. The 15th Stoic principle is to accept imperfection. In yourself and in others, people will make mistakes, and so will you. Expecting perfection is a path to endless frustration. A Stoic understands that flaws are part of the human condition. Instead of condemning others harshly, you practice patience and understanding. Instead of hating yourself for errors, you learn from them and grow. Acceptance replaces anger with wisdom and guilt with humility. When you stop demanding perfection from the world, you stop suffering from disappointment. This acceptance brings calm in relationships, work, and self-reflection. Nothing can disturb you when you no longer resist reality. The 16th Stoic principle is to train your mind through daily reflection. The Stoics ended each day by reviewing their actions and thoughts, asking what they did well, where they failed, and how they could improve tomorrow. This constant self-examination sharpens awareness and discipline. It prevents arrogance and encourages progress. Reflection turns experience into wisdom, allowing you to act more rationally with each new day. When you develop this habit, you stop repeating mistakes and start mastering yourself. Every day becomes an opportunity to grow in virtue and resilience. A mind that reflects cannot be easily deceived or disturbed, for it knows itself deeply. The 17th principle is patience. Stoicism recognizes that everything meaningful takes time. Growth, mastery, healing, and success all unfold slowly. Impatience is a form of weakness, a refusal to accept the natural pace of life. When you develop patience, frustration fades and peace increases. You begin to trust the process rather than forcing outcomes. Patience turns setbacks into lessons and delays into opportunities for endurance. It teaches humility before time and confidence in progress. A patient person cannot be easily agitated, for they have learned that everything happens when it is meant to. Patience is quiet strength in motion. The 18th Stoic principle is to let go of attachment to opinions. Most suffering arises from caring too much about what others think. Stoics trained themselves to act from reason, not approval. They focused on what is right, not what is popular. When you stop depending on external validation, you free yourself from fear of judgment. Criticism no longer wounds you because your self-worth is built on integrity, not reputation. You speak truth calmly, act justly, and remain steady regardless of praise or blame. This independence of thought creates immense peace, for no one can control your emotions through their opinions. The 19th Stoic principle is resilience through perspective. A Stoic always looks for meaning in hardship. When pain arises, you ask not, why me, but how can this make me better? This shift transforms suffering into strength. You realize that every obstacle contains a lesson, and every challenge is training for the soul. Resilience is not the absence of pain, but the ability to endure it with purpose. When you adopt this view, nothing can break you. Each hardship becomes fuel for wisdom, patience, and gratitude. You grow stronger, not in spite of adversity, but because of it. The Stoic sees storms as teachers, not threats. The final Stoic principle is inner freedom. True freedom is not the ability to do whatever you want, but the ability to remain calm and virtuous no matter what happens. External freedom can be taken away, but inner freedom belongs to you alone. It means your peace does not depend on possessions, people, or circumstances. You are content with what you have and prepared for whatever comes. This freedom is the essence of Stoicism, a mind so disciplined, rational, and humble that no force can shake it. When you master your thoughts, emotions, and actions, you become untouchable by the world. You have achieved the ultimate goal. Nothing can affect you. Thank you for watching this video.